My presentation is on gender and body image. In my video essay, I will be arguing that today's society perpetuates harmful gender stereotypes and unrealistic beauty standards that negatively impacts body image, particularly in women, leading to a range of physical and mental health issues. This was captured through gender differences in media representation, discrimination in the workplace, and socialization with members of the society. In this essay, I will use a documentary Thin by HBO. To give you a little background on this documentary, it follows a group of women dealing with a range of eating disorders at a treatment facility in Florida. In this facility, the women discuss in a group setting about the emotional and physical strains of dealing with body image problems. So, to begin with, society is able to perpetuate harmful gender stereotypes and unrealistic beauty standards through media representation that negatively impacts body image. The media plays a big role in everyone's life, even though many of us don't like to admit it. It comes as no surprise that the media is able to build and promote ideal body shapes and sizes no matter the population. The media often portrays gender stereotypes in movies, TV shows, and advertisements. This can be harmful, especially to women, as this reinforces traditional gender roles and harmful stereotypes. Since the 1900s, we as a culture and society have been obsessed with size. This obsession has fueled pressures to appear a certain way and have a certain body type, stemming from a construction of the ideal body. Some of the earliest representations we see of women's body are Venus figurines, which are like small statues today. These figurines portrayed round, pear-shaped women bodies with large breasts. Experts have stated that during this time, it made one attractive as this is how many goddesses were represented. Artists continue portraying the ideal woman as curvy all the way through the 17th and 18th century. For women to achieve this body type, the corset had become a very popular undergarment. This helped a woman achieve the figure by sucking her waist and accentuating her curves. But by 1890, artist Charles Dana Gibson drew tall, slim-figured, yet curvy women in the magazine of the time. Then, in the 20th century, there was a very defined shift towards an incredibly young, athletic, slender body. The flapper is a perfect example of this, reflecting this shift towards a more slender physique. But as a slender body started to appear in the magazines in the mid-1920s, an epidemic of eating disorders followed. Disordered eating was at its highest in the 1920s and 1980s, as the ideal woman was the thinnest in history. This shift from a more rounded body to a thin body led to a rise in fashion models resembling the perfect slender body. These models helped to shift away from the corset and body ideals of the past. The corset was replaced by fad diets and exercise. In the 1980s and 90s, the World Health Organization began sounding the alarm about the growing global obesity epidemic. In this epidemic, obesity was defined as a person who has too much body fat, and this can increase health problems including diabetes, heart disease, stroke, and some cancers. During this time, images of obesity could be seen in all forms of the media, and images of skinny models were quick to follow. As one can see, extreme thinness was celebrated, and if your body was larger than you were labeled unhealthy. The growing access to social media hasn't helped women's body image either. In 2018, a study found a correlation between time spent on social media, negative body image, and disordered eating. One way social media is able to distort body image is through constant comparisons. Social media is known for hurting body image by exposing women to the ideal body type, causing them to be constantly comparing themselves to others. These unrealistic ideals are created and leave many people feeling depressed and distressed when they aren't able to meet the ideals and self-expectations. In today's media, we also have to be careful about Photoshop and filters. According to the senior director at the Mood Disorders Center, Photoshops and filters present people and things in their best light. It creates a distorted fantasy world and raises the bar on what people perceive is the best way to be. Even the process of editing your own images can play a role in how you perceive your own body. According to a 2022 review, the research found that taking and editing selfies was more harmful than posting them, perhaps because it allows you to focus on and trying to fix your flaws. As of recently, social media has been linked to positive effects on well-being as it connects people to community that can positively impact their body image. But many people still take social media as just scrolling through image and don't take advantage of this, as social media still impacts many people's self-perceptions. As I mentioned in the beginning, the documentary Thin is a good representation of how our society negatively impacts body image, particularly in women. In the documentary Thin, they highlight how media representation has a negative impact on body image through various examples. In the example I'm going to play in a second, we are introduced to Polly. Polly has been admitted to the Renwu Center after trying to commit suicide over 2 pieces of pizza.
Dieting has always been a huge part of my life. I remember all the things that are symptoms of eating disorders that we know of now being taught by my family to cut my food into really small pieces and chew very slowly and take your time and, always drink water in between so that your stomach fills up faster. I was counting calories and counting fat by the time I was 11.
Polly was born in the 70s when, remember, dieting was presented in all forms of the media. She was stuck at a very young age trying to adhere to society's standards that were displayed all around her, which ultimately caused her to slowly turn to disordered eating. But Polly also brings up another interesting point in her interview, that she was taught by her family to engage in unordinary eating habits that reinforced the ideal of being thin and ultimately started her restricting eating habits. Which leads me to my next point, that socialization with members of our society can perpetuate gender stereotypes and unrealistic beauty standards that can negatively impact body image, leading to a range of issues. This was not only seen in Polly's story, but throughout the other girls' stories too at the treatment center. For example, another girl at the center named Brittany said she cares a lot about what others think of her. Here's the clip.
Why are you so worried about what other people think?
Because that's what I've always cared about my whole life. That's the reason why I lost weight in the first place.
Brittany has had an eating disorder since she was 8 years old. In the past year, she has dropped from 185 pounds to 97 pounds. As anyone can see, this is not healthy for an average person to do in such a short time. When Brittany arrived at Renwu, she had a low heart rate, hair loss, and liver damage as a result of her eating disorder. She states in a documentary that she was 8 when she began to closet eat, and that she shortly began dieting at 12 because she had a bad body image and her peers were a lot thinner than she was. Brittany then states to the audience this.
Good for about a month, and then I told my mom. She knew. She just didn't know what to do. Because she has an eating disorder also. We would do this thing called chew and spit, and we would have the greatest time with it. Like, we would buy bags and bags of candy and just chew it and obviously spit it out. We just thought of it as a good time. We didn't think of it as a problem. And it was.
Through this clip, it's easy to see that Brittany's mom reinforced her eating habits through the chew and spit technique. We also see her mom struggle with her own eating habits.
Bitter. I think that's, I don't know what that is, if it's zucchini or not, but it's not very good. I think the yellow stuff is okay.
Squash.
Mm-hmm. What is it?
Black bean burger. Is there carrots in it?
Yeah.
You want to try it?
Should I? Mm-hmm. Sure. I'll cut out a piece. I don't like the roll. I'll try the bean first. And I can't eat the cheese. I'm already having dairy.
As we learned in class, our family, especially our parents, can shape many things starting at a young age, such as gender roles and gender identity. But this is also true for our body image. In the reading titled Becoming Gendered, The Early Years, the author states, mothers who make remarks about their weight or about eating communicate that to be feminine is to be thin. In this reading, nutritionist Deborah Waterhouse also says, our daughters hear us making comments like, I hate my thighs, or I eat like a pig, and that forms their definition of womanhood. Brittany and her mother's relationship is a perfect example of what this reading describes. Brittany's mother has always had a bad relationship with food, as we saw. Now, this relationship to food is seen as normal by Brittany, as that's what her mom has conditioned her to believe, even if that was subconsciously. One interaction of Brittany and her mom that really stood out was this one.
You gonna wait with me? Just sit here.
Maybe double chin again.
But you don't have a mole. Look. The scar's almost
Running
gone.
off.
You're crawling out of your skin, huh?
I want it off, Mom. You don't understand. I want it off.
Brittany could have used words of encouragement, and her mother just sat there as Brittany ripped herself apart. I think we see this as her mom is suffering from a negative body image too. Not only do parents perpetuate gender stereotypes and unrealistic body standards, but doctors and the medical community are guilty of doing this too. As I stated when going over media representation, in the 1980s and 90s, the World Health Organization began sounding the alarm about the growing global obesity epidemic. In this epidemic, we are fed a narrative that we have to dehumanize fat people for their health, as fat equals unhealthy. This is the time when we see lots of diet pills and quick fixes for overweight individuals. We also see people start blaming people for their weight with the perception that weight is adjustable. Weight stigma is even related to common causes we can all think of. For example, heightened mortality or chronic diseases and conditions like diabetes. Weight stigma is perpetuated through the medical community, and professionals may hold negative attitudes towards people with obesity, resulting in discriminatory behavior. This can lead to a cycle where individuals avoid medical care altogether as they fear of being judged or mistreated again. Similarly, medical professionals have a tendency to focus too much on the actual weight and not enough on overall health or well-being. This reinforces the idea that thinness is the only acceptable body size and perpetuates negative body image further. In the documentary Thin, there is another woman in the group named Eliza. Eliza is 30 years old when they are filming the documentary. Eliza was put on a diet at the age of 7.
When I was 7, my mother took me to the pediatrician for, I think it was an ear infection or something. And the pediatrician said, what are you going to do about your daughter's weight? And my mother said, what do you mean, what am I going to do about her weight? She's 7. And what's wrong with her weight? And he said, well, she's fat. And he said, she's fat. She's 7 years old. This is baby fat. They started me with a dietitian at age 7. I remember specifically it was a 1,000-calorie meal plan. And after I took off 6 pounds, they gave me a Snoopy notebook, and I thought that was the greatest thing. Because it was positive reinforcement. I thought, hey, this is great.
So we find out that Eliza started dieting thanks to her doctor thinking she needed to lose 8 pounds. This ended up triggering her unhealthy eating habits as she was praised for losing weight at such a young age. As one can see, Eliza's primary doctor triggered her anxiety of becoming fat, as Brittany's mom did in her case. As one can see through their relationships and socialization with other people, unrealistic beauty standards and gender stereotypes were created that eventually affected their body image and in the end leading to unhealthy eating habits. Another way society is able to perpetuate harmful gender stereotypes and unrealistic beauty standards is through workplace discrimination. Women are often judged based on their appearance rather than their qualification or skills. For example, women may be expected to wear a dress a certain way or wear makeup that their male counterparts aren't expected to do. Another example from the class reading titled Work was a plane stewardess. In the 1960s, airline companies were using sexual objectification in campaigns to attract passengers. Depending on the airline, they offered exotic nationalities or made flight attendants wear pens that stated, pure, sober, and available. And if the flight attendants reached the age of 30, got married, or became pregnant, they were terminated. As one can see, women were subjected to gender-based harassment in the workplace through different types of discrimination. Many women in the workplace face benevolent sexism, which is a man tries to protect a woman from unpleasant, dirty, confrontational, dangerous, or otherwise unfeminine activities, and in doing so ends up undermining women's career achievements. This hurts women employees as the protection prevents them from learning their job, demonstrating their skills, or becoming better and more effective employees. Another type of discrimination in the workplace against women is hostile sexism. This happens because some men feel strongly that women should stay at home or shouldn't be doing men's work, so they isolate women or put them in dangerous situations. Hostile sexism can create a hostile and dangerous workplace. As women face different types of discrimination in the workplace, they also face a double bind. In the double bind, a woman in a masculine job often suffers from the perception that they are not quite right for the job. These women then experience tension between being a worker and being a woman. This leaves feminine women feel as likable but incompetent, while women who do masculine are seen as competent but not likable. So as you can see, it is a lose situation. It's not hard to see that women feel trapped in the way that they present themselves in the workplace. This can lead to many women to feel objectified and reinforce negative body image. Creating all these standards for women makes them feel that they are not being valued or respected in the workplace because of their gender, which may lead to questioning their worth as a person and as a professional. Many women are left with a low self-esteem and self-doubt as they feel a need to conform to certain beauty standards in order to be accepted in their workplace, even if doing so is not in line with their personal preferences or values. In extreme cases, this could lead to self-harm or disordered eating. While workplace discrimination was not seen directly in the film, many women in the film open up about how their eating disorder gives them control or makes them feel accomplished as they feel like they lack this in their personal life. I think this could be in many aspects of their lives like school, work, family, etc. Here's Elisa sharing what I'm talking about.
I tried so hard to find satisfaction through other accomplishments, but nothing measured up to this one. And I remember at one point years ago thinking, so be it. I mean, this is what I really want. This is the one thing that I want so bad. I just want to be thin. So if it takes dying to get there, so be it. At least I'll get there.
I feel like this all comes back to women being seen as subordinate in today's society and leaves them longing for a purpose, if you will. As you've seen throughout this video and the stories of the girls from the documentary Thin, body image is tied to many aspects of our lives, including media, the workplace, and through the socialization of members in today's society. It has detrimental effects if taken too far, including low self-esteem, restrictive eating, overexercising, or distorted eating, as we saw in Thin. There are definitely ways to reduce the harms as we associate with negative body image. One way presented in the media representation articles is to promote body positivity. We can do this by celebrating diverse body shapes and sizes and acknowledge that there is no ideal body type. We see this all the time today through social media influencers that offer their followers a community to rely on. Women could slowly start to dismantle gender as a factor, influencing body image by supporting each other and no longer upholding the ideal image of women. We should see all women as beautiful no matter how they choose to define it in their eyes.